With all the gyms currently closed and the fact that weights are sold out everywhere, and people filling up milk jugs with water which are heavy enough and very unpractical to use. Until now with Steve Hacks. So here are the things I've used to make my homemade weights. As you can see, I use various different sizes of jugs and material from sand to tape to even zip ties. Now let's get started. So by simply mixing water and sand in a 1 liter jug, I'm able to achieve just a little under 5 pounds. And that simple equation is how I'm going to be making all my weight classes. So to make my 20-pound dumbbell, I will be using 4 1 liter bottle jugs to achieve my 20 pounds, plus everything else you guys see here. The first step that I've taken is I simply use duct tape to secure them together. I've added some twine in between, which then I realized later it was pretty useless. You could skip that step. Now they're ready to be filled with the water and sand mixture. Before I start putting sand in, I put about half water so that when filled with sand, the water and sand mixes nicely. And another tip to fill the jugs a lot faster, I'm using a chopstick to stir the sand inside the funnel so it falls down a lot faster. So to make sure they're packed up to the top, I like to use again the chopstick to make sure they're good, and I'll add or remove water as needed. So I went ahead and did the other 2, and now I have 2 complete sides. For the next part, you could use any old pipe you could find, either it's PVC, copper, or in this case, I found an old broomstick I decided to cut up. I decided to use some hot glue here to help prevent the weights from sliding up and down and to create more traction. This by no means is not going to hold the weights together without any additional support. So as you see here, I've tied up the twine, but again, I think it's pretty useless. I don't think it helped keep it together at all. On the other hand, zip ties will be a lot more effective. As you see here, I have nice heavy duty zip ties. I'll be using 8 total. After adding the zip ties, you're going to notice it's a lot more secured already, but not secured enough. So just by adding more duct tape, you're going to notice it's going to be a lot more secured. Now for the finishing touches. To add the finishing touches, as you can see, I used hockey tape to make a more comfortable grip, and I covered up both ends of the pipes to prevent any cutting. And now it is complete. Off camera, I made these 2 10-pound dumbbells. To do it, I actually used 1 liter bottles of Gatorade on both sides, again the pipe supporting both, and used tape, zip ties, and even more tape to secure them. I was very happy the way these guys turned out as well. These homemade kettlebells were probably the easiest I made. It took me about 10 minutes to make both, and what I liked about them is they were super easy to fill. I simply cut the spout on the inner part of the bottle to fill, and by adding hockey tape to the handles, it makes a very comfortable grip. And since they were about 1.2 liters, I was able to achieve 6 pounds per weight. Here is another weight I've made, however I'm not a fan of it. Reason being is because it's a 6 liter jug with about a 35 pounds of sand and water inside of it. It definitely does the job. However, I'm afraid if you drop it from any height, it will explode open. Next, I will be making my 30-pound dumbbell, and I'll be actually using 6 1-liter bottles of Gatorade. A few things I really liked about the Gatorade bottles is, one, they have a wide mouth for easy filling, and they have a nice rigid side for the zip ties to securely hold in place. And another trick I found is, after cutting away your zip ties, I like to use something like a file to file down the edges to prevent the sharp zip ties from cutting anything. So like I said before, it's always important to have something in between the pipes and your weight to prevent it from sliding up and down. In this case, I've used some clear double-sided sticky tape, which actually worked very well in the end. And another reason why I always like to add the duct tape before I add the zip ties is because then it helps prevent the zip ties from cutting into the plastic. So there you guys have it. The 30-pound dumbbell weight is complete. This by far is my favorite build, considering how easy it is to use, and is really little to no difference than using an actual dumbbell. As you can see, it's solid, it's not falling up and down or falling apart. You can pick it up, put it down, no problem. Now for my 40-pound weight, I'm going to be doing something a little different. First thing I'll be doing is securing them together using some duct tape. Once you have the 2 jugs securely taped together, next step is to get the handle ready. Again, I'll be using that old broomstick I have, and I'll be cutting it with about a 1/2 inch overhang on each side of the handle. Once cut and hockey taped, I get it ready to secure to the 2 jugs. Next, I've added zip ties to make a nice secured fit. Just like that, you can start using the weight. However, it's not done yet. So I decided to add a second handle to the original handle by using some twine, like so. And the reason I added this handle, it basically gives you almost full control over the weight. You can simply do every single weight exercise, from your basic curls, your chest presses, shoulder presses, even your bent over rows. One of my favorite things about this design is, when grabbing the second handle, you can simply just rest your forearm between the 2 jugs so you can keep full control over the weight and use it for any overhead reps. So with it being a total of 8 liters of sand and water, you're going to achieve up to 40 pounds. As you can see, it's just a little under, I would say about 38.5. When I am ready to make my 50-pound weight, I'll probably end up using 2 of these oil jugs once I have enough. Basically, my idea is that I'll be using the exact same design as my 40-pound with an additional handle. Here's another yet really good idea and really easy build. All I did was I take an empty 2-liter bleach container and again filled it with the water and sand mixture, threw a handle on, threw some hockey tape, and that was it. Another way to achieve 50 pounds is you would want to fill up one of these 10-liter jugs of water. However, I wouldn't recommend it I wouldn't trust the jug to hold 50 pounds of pressure from exploding out. So there you guys have it, all the different type of weights I've made just using the stuff that's laying around my house. Now keep in mind, you don't necessarily need to use sand. You could also use dirt or rocks, but the reason I use sand is because it's the best and easiest to fill any jug. For those of you looking for even more weight, for a 60-pound dumbbell, I would take 6 of these V8 containers, which would be about 10 pounds each, and I would simply strap them the same way I did as my 30-pound dumbbell, which would then give you my 60 pounds off of one dumbbell.
Yeah.